You don't have to talk. I just didn't want you to be alone with it. She said it quietly, sitting down on the bench 2 feet from a man she had never met, in the section of Milford Cemetery where the November light came through the oak trees in long, patient bars. She had been visiting her grandmother's grave, a Sunday ritual she had kept for 3 years, more conversation than mourning now, the kind of visit that felt less like grief and more like maintenance of something important. On her way back, she had passed a man sitting on the ground beside a headstone with the particular stillness of someone who has run out of the energy required to hold themselves together. She had not planned to stop. She stopped. He looked up. He was 33, dark-haired, with the quality of someone who had not slept properly in several nights and had stopped noticing. He looked at her, this woman who had simply sat down near him with her quiet offering, and something in his face shifted in the way faces shift when unexpected kindness finds them in a state where their defenses are already down. "My sister," he said, not answering a question, just offering it. "I'm sorry," she said, and meant it in the full, unhurried way. They sat together in the oak light for 20 minutes. She didn't ask how or when. He didn't explain. They watched the light move, and she told him, eventually, about her grandmother, the crossword puzzles, the particular way she laughed at her own jokes before she finished telling them, the recipe box she had left behind, that Lena was still working through one Sunday at a time. He listened. He was very good at listening. When she stood to go, he said, "Thank you for stopping." "Of course," she said simply, as though stopping for a person in grief were the most natural thing, which, for her, it was. Her name was Lena Voss, 26 years old. She lived with her parents in the house she had grown up in, had been doing so since her lease had ended 8 months ago, and the job market had not yet produced a replacement for the one she'd lost. She was not unhappy. She was patient, methodical, and had the particular equanimity of someone raised to believe that circumstances changed if you worked at them steadily enough. She did not know the man's name. He had not offered it. She had not asked. His name was Corden Hale. He was the founder of Hale Systems, a workplace software company he had built over 7 years into a mid-sized firm with 200 employees. He had stepped back from day-to-day operations 14 months ago, following his sister Margot's diagnosis, a decision made without hesitation and with the full awareness that stepping back at that stage of a company's growth had consequences he would manage later. He had managed them imperfectly. The executive team he had put in place had made decisions he would not have made, including, 6 months ago, a workforce reduction that he had been briefed on after the fact. He had been in a hospital waiting room the morning the notification went out. He had read the summary on his phone and approved it in the way you approve things when you are in a hospital waiting room, and the summary says the financials require it, and you trust the people you've put in place. Margot had died in September. He had come to the cemetery every Sunday since, not from any plan, but from the simple fact that Sunday mornings had belonged to her. Brunch, phone calls, the crossword she always sent him unfinished because she said completing it alone defeated the purpose, and he did not yet know what else to do with them. He did not know that the woman who had sat with him on the bench had been among those whose positions were eliminated in the reduction he had approved from a hospital waiting room. Lena came back the following Sunday. She had not decided to lip for him, but when she finished at her grandmother's grave and walked the familiar path back and saw him again, same bench, same stillness, she changed direction without debate. "You came back," he said. "So did you," she said. She sat. "I brought an extra coffee. I don't know how you take it." "Black is fine," he said. She handed it over. They sat with their cups and the November cemetery and the oak trees and something that was building, slowly and honestly, from the simple fact of 2 people choosing the same bench 2 Sundays in a row. "Do you work nearby to come on Sundays?" "I'm between jobs. I was in workplace software, operations coordination." Paused. "Company downsized. I was in the second round." He was very still. Which company?
She told him. The stillness became a different kind of stillness. He looked at the headstone in front of them, then at his coffee, then at nothing in particular, in the way of someone reorganizing several things at once. "I'm sorry," he said, "about the job." "It's all right," she said. "These things happen." "Not always for good reasons," he said quietly. She looked at him. Something in his tone had shifted, heavier, more specific than sympathy warranted. "Did you know the company?" she asked. A pause long enough to mean something. "I founded it," he said. The Sunday morning continued around them. Birds, distant traffic, the sound of the cemetery being itself. Lena held her coffee cup and sat with what he had said and let it arrange itself without rushing it. "You were in a hospital," she said, not accusing, just working it out. "My sister was dying," he said. "I approved a reduction from a waiting room. I shouldn't have. I should have asked for more time to review it." He looked at his hands. "I've been thinking about that list of names for months and not knowing what to do with the thinking." She was quiet for a while. The oak light moved. "Were you trying to save the company?" she asked. "The team said it was necessary." "Was it?" Another pause. "Probably not the way they did it," he said. "There were other options I would have pushed for if I'd been present." She absorbed this. She thought about 8 months of job searching, her parents' patient presence, the specific mathematics of a life temporarily not working as planned. She thought about this man who had sat here every Sunday with his grief and his guilt running parallel and had let a stranger sit beside him without explaining any of it. "You couldn't have been present," she said. "Your sister was dying." "I know. That doesn't fix the list." "No," she agreed, "but it changes what it means." He called his operations director on a Monday. He requested a full review of the reduction, who had been let go, what had happened to their roles, whether the positions had genuinely been eliminated or simply redistributed. The review took 3 weeks and confirmed what he had suspected. 14 of the 42 positions could have been preserved through restructuring rather than elimination. The company was now in a growth phase that was requiring it to rehire for roles it had cut. He did not call Lena. He went through proper channels, a recruiter, a job posting, the formal process he believed in for its own integrity. The operations coordinator role was listed the week after the review concluded. She found it on her own, applied on her own, interviewed with a panel that did not include him. She was offered the position on a Thursday afternoon and accepted it before the end of the call.
She found out he had initiated the review when she started, and her new manager mentioned it in passing. The founder had come back, done a full audit, restructured accordingly. She sat with this information at her desk on her second day and thought about a cemetery bench and 2 coffees, and a man who had said it doesn't fix the list and had then gone and done the nearest available thing to fixing it anyway. She saw him in the corridor on her 3rd week. He stopped. So did she. "You got it on your own merits," he said. "I know," she said, "but you made the opening." He looked at her. "You sat with me for 4 Sundays," he said quietly, "when I had nothing to offer you, and you didn't know I owed you anything. That's not something I can account for properly." She thought about her grandmother, about the recipe box, about the specific, unremarkable decision to sit down near someone who was alone with something hard. "You don't have to account for it," she said. "That's not why I stopped." "I know," he said. "That's the part I keep thinking about." Outside the office windows, the December morning was doing its quiet, cold work. Inside a corridor on the 3rd floor, 2 people stood in the particular warmth of a story that had begun at a cemetery bench and arrived here through grief and guilt and coffee and the simple, radical act of not walking past. "Sit down. Stay a while,"
You don't always know what you're giving or who you're giving it to, but kindness offered without reason is the only kind that cannot be questioned. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.